They say that you can't patch a wounded soul with a bandage. But this is very often the picture we tell ourselves is possible when we work with veterans who are wounded, sick, or injured. Somehow we hold the paintbrush to an ultimate masterpiece, but that masterpiece is already painted, alive and well hidden under the many layers of paint that each veteran has sometimes self-applied. For the veterans at Operation Nightingale, those layers of paint can conceal any number of scars, the results of the anxieties, traumas, exhaustions, exposures, and stresses of each deployment, operation, or incident that's been inflicted upon them. Physical wounds, injuries, and sicknesses are obvious reminders to us all of what a veteran or active duty soldier may endure. But these layers of paint obscure a more brutal and potentially devastating reality. Years of traumas and stresses compound, layered thick upon each other, until finally little remains of the original portrait, transitioning from Michelangelo's David, the strong young man soldier who's depicted at the moment he's decided to fight, to the quilted pattern of Picasso's Guernica, the sad and atrocious reflections of man, woman, and beast in slain upheaval. In this talk, my colleague Staff Sergeant Matthew Starmer and I are going to share with you the works of Operation Nightingale that have been undertaken at Marne Barracks, just concluded several weeks ago. We're going to talk about how veterans and support staff have responded to the 4-week project, out of the many projects that are ongoing, discuss the methods that have been used, the results, and finally provide a sort of potential trajectory, pausing cautiously throughout this talk to provide personal reflections and reinterpretations of our own purposes as archaeologists and the true human impact that archaeology can make in real lives. We're going to start out talking about the objectives of the project before moving into veteran perspective. We'll discuss a little bit about the methodology and on-site accomplishments, because after all, we are at an archaeology conference. We'll talk a little bit about the results of this outreach work, talk briefly about archaeology as a place of solace and hope, and finally, return back to our conclusions. The aim of the Defense Archaeology Group, which we simply call DAG, is to enable serving regular reservists, veterans, and family members the opportunities to accomplish comprehensive skills training exercises using various aspects of archaeology and heritage management in order to develop proficient abilities that will complement both Army and veteran rehabilitation programs. In addition, the training affords individuals the possibility to develop their potential for future Army or civilian careers. These archaeological projects are normally conducted in partnership with DAG, Defense Archaeology Group, the Defense Infrastructure Organization, or DIO, and a wide variety of partners within the heritage sector. It's attracted interest from diverse populations of both civilian and military affiliations and individuals alike. Operation Nightingale and DAG have been awarded archaeological awards, including the prestigious British Archaeological Award, the MOD Sanctuary Award, and has been the subject of Time Team. Op Nightingale has successfully integrated military, both serving and veteran personnel, onto several partially funded university degree programs, as well as more vocational programs of work. And for now, I'm going to pass the slides over to Matt for his veterans perspective.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, I'm going to start my slides with a short video. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this because we don't have sound in the theatre, so please listen carefully. We're going to play it through the laptop.
Young fella like Rodney stops short to have dinner with a bird and leaves a carrot to an old chap like me.
They've got no respect these days.
Got no respect these days.
You fought in the war, didn't you?
I fought in the war, didn't I? Thought so that kids like Rodney could have freedom. And what do they do with their freedom?
Anything they bloody lie.
Anything they bloody lie.
So what is a veteran? Let me get this to slide over.
What? How do we get on? What in the world?
I don't do tech, you can tell.
We will soon return to our regularly scheduled program. There we go.
Okay, you obviously seen there a satirical portrayal of the typical veteran. For those of you who know Only Fools and Horses, all the better. For those that you don't, hopefully you'll have understood it. In some cases, that can be a true reflection. However, a veteran is more than this. He or she is firstly human, but at some stage in their life, each and every one has chosen a path of service, a path of honour, and has undertaken to fulfil their oath at all costs. A veteran can therefore be defined as someone who, whether on active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, has at some point in their life signed a blank cheque to Queen and Country for an amount up to and including his or her life. And obviously for the non-sovereign countries, please exclude the Queen. It's the human factor that we'll be looking at today, and through archaeology and Operation Nightingale, how that can have a positive effect on our veterans, serving personnel, and our wounded, injured and sick. Okay, I myself am a veteran, even though I am now serving again. I've had a career that has spanned 4 decades. I've been an infantry soldier, military policeman, operations and training specialist, and I'm now in the Army Reserve in intelligence. During my career, I have trained and served alongside many young men and women in operations, some of whom didn't come home. What I've seen from my service and my recent foray into archaeology is many transferable skills. The common factor among our servicemen is one of a hard-working ethos, adaptability, precision, and a willingness to learn. Imagine, if you will, the soldier in Afghanistan using a metal detector or observing ground sign for changes in pattern to save his comrades from possible improvised explosive device. If he finds that device, he then needs to carefully remove the topsoil, often at fingertip, or at worst still, he may have to navigate slowly through an enemy minefield. The minefield then needs to be mapped for intelligence purposes and for the safety of future patrols. Meanwhile, back at the headquarters, aerial photography is being analysed for best exploitation of the ground and assets held. Plans are carefully drawn, and detailed reports are inevitably written for higher command. If this all sounds familiar, that's probably because it is. Add to this the fact that most servicemen clearly don't mind getting their hands dirty from time to time, and you have a plethora of transferable skills that map across to archaeology. There are also some reverse benefits, some of which are listed on the slide in front of you. I've only just been introduced to archaeology through Operation Nightingale, and already I've seen a massive amount of benefit to some of our servicemen, to some of their both visible and invisible injuries. The sense of purpose that archaeology can give holds incredible significance in the lives of many. At Vindolanda, and more recently at Marne Barracks Catterick, I realised this and observed some truly magical moments. Veterans would often flock to their colleagues as they held aloft an artefact not seen for millennia, which had been carefully extracted from the soil. It had a marvellous effect on the well-being of all involved, and this is just one of many examples of the reverse benefits. Since operations began in Afghanistan and Iraq in 2001, the armed forces have reviewed the aftercare of its veterans and laid down specific requirements in the Community Covenant. The document encourages employers to recognise the wealth of experience a veteran can bring to their organisation, but also the benefits that can be paid back. I'm now going to hand back over to Emily, who will give you more archaeological detail about our recent excavation at Marne Barracks.
So, as you can see, the archaeological works that have been undertaken at Marne Barracks, you can get a general idea of the location. This has been accomplished, well, I'll just start at the beginning. It's been accomplished through the joint collaboration of a lot of different involved parties, including commercial sponsors, Carillion, Morgan Sindall, who've been responsible for the A1 expansion at Catterick, if you're familiar with that area, the Defence Infrastructure Organisation, input from Historic England, and of course the Ministry of Defence. The actual site that we've been digging on over that month period was Bayonesse, the Roman roadside settlement, which is also a scheduled ancient monument. And there's further scheduled ancient monument on the eastern side, Castle Hills, possible medieval castle with suspected early Saxon connections. There have been archaeological excavations at the site since the 1930s. Initially, that was under the auspices of the Yorkshire Archaeological Society, and these early excavations were examining the potential for Romano-British settlement. More recent excavations in advance of the road widening revealed evidence for Roman road site settlement and a pottery kiln within the barracks on the western side near the A1. Excavations by Cramp in 1966, however, identified Roman and post-Roman occupation within the confines of the barracks itself. And other investigations have continued from these discoveries and examined the potential for Anglo-Saxon burials and settlement in the areas that we specifically investigated. All of the archaeological works were undertaken by hand, from de-turfing to excavation, of course with the support of the staff and special matter experts. All of the projects undertaken by Operation Nightingale have very clear research aims and agendas, as you can see. From examining the transition between the later Iron Age and Romano-British settlement, through to examining links between the later Iron Age sites around Catterick and the early Roman foundations at Catterick and its environs. The images I'm showing here are just really a small handful of the images that we've taken at Marne, and you can see that our veterans and support staff work very closely together, and it's really the veterans that do all of the work with support staff lending a hand or teaching a bit of this or that as and when necessary. The results have been pretty incredible, if I say so myself. Veterans have all been asked to complete surveys on the basis of self-assessment from their knowledge and confidences at the start of the project through to the end of this 4-week project. The knowledge of field archaeology on the self-assessment basis has increased by over 47% on a scale of 100. The self-reflection and transferable skills led to a 56% greater recognition of skills within themselves and the means through which they might utilize them in the future toward a new career. A 47% increase in confidence, which for many of these vets is really a huge stepping stone towards a much better life. And reduction of feelings of social isolation and relative deprivation at around 48%, with several outliers. One of whom was a gentleman who, when he came to Marne Barracks, the first few days of the dig, he thought he was going to find absolutely nothing at all. He suffered from extreme social anxiety, food anxiety, and within a week of being at Marne, he was socializing, he was part of the group, and he promised all of us upon his departure a few days before the end of the project that he was never going to go back to the rather hermitage lifestyle that he'd led before. So really a great success for this individual, along with so many others. Overall, though, it's proved that improved access and engagement for people with disabilities is possible. And this is the subject of some ongoing research, and we were lucky enough to have one such researcher from UCL on site with us for a short period of time. So I beg you to please take a look at access for people with disabilities on your sites in your future archaeological field endeavors. The operations at Marne have really shown us that archaeology is a place of solace. It's not just a field in which we can go dig about and do what we like, but it's actually a place where people connect. They connect with each other and they connect with their past. It's essentially like telling a leaf that it's actually still a part of a tree, even if the edges are a little bit worn. And that, I think, is the real benefit of this type of work. There are major benefits to the participants. There's a high quality of archaeological research and participation from all participants. And the greatest thing is that there's much more research and projects yet to be done, much more work yet to be undertaken. So on behalf of all of the veterans whom I am representing, although I'm not a veteran, all of the participants at Defence Archaeology Group, Operation Nightingale, and veterans I have in the room with me up in this corner. I'd like to thank you very much, and by all means, please don't be a stranger. Please come and talk to our vets and get their side of the story, because mine is much narrower than theirs will be. So thank you very much.